Welcome back to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. She's back again. She really enjoys my company, apparently, because it's her third time on. Laney, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
Okay, I know we just talked a lot off air, so I'm not. We're gonna skip the formalities for the listeners.
Oh,
But the OJ conspiracy. Okay, so someone told me this in my work, and I've been studying as much as I possibly can for the 9/11 episode I'm doing. So like, I went into work and I spent that whole like from like 1 a.m. till like 6 just watching 9/11 documentaries, but not all the conspiracy stuff like I like, more about like the emotional phone calls of family members. So I came in like someone shot my dog. I was all upset, and everyone's like, "What happened to you?" And I was just like, "Don't talk to me." Then a buddy of mine, we were talking about like the 9/11 thing, and he goes, "Did you see the OJ conspiracy?" I'm like, "What? That the glove didn't fit, or it did fit, or he didn't force his hand into it?" No, his son did it. And I'm like, "What?" And then I was looking on like Netflix, and they have a OJ new series out, and they think that he was driving slow when the cops found him, like we're chasing after him. He was
hmm
driving oddly slow, and they think it was enough time for his son to get out, like escape, like not the house, but the state, and go into another spot, so he has an alibi of not even being in that state, and that's why the glove didn't fit. It was actually his son, and it was just a cover up. He took the rap for his son, and I'm like, damn it, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Um, is this the son that he had with Nicole Simpson? Because wasn't that kid like 12 at the time?
Whoever his oldest one is. I don't know. I only know OJ from
Yeah.
Naked Gun or his Twitter feed where he's like, "Hello, Twitter world." I'm like, "You're a killer." He's like, "Hello, Twitter world. Let me tell you about fantasy sports." I'm like, "Jeez."
Yeah. Um, I will never not believe that he's guilty.
See, it was out of my era. Like, that's one
Yeah.
conspiracy or one thing I never went down.
Um, well, I was in high school when it happened because as we all know, I'm old as dirt.
I
And
don't think so. It's like,
oh, thank you.
yeah.
But I was in high school. I very vividly remember because I was in high school, I was usually just the token white girl, because that's the kind of high school I went to. And I just remember this kid looking at me and go, like the day the verdict was coming out for OJ, they were like, he better be not guilty or I'm coming for you.
Oh my
Because I was the
God.
only right, because Mark Furman became such a talking point in that trial. And yeah, I was like, what the fuck? I'm gonna die.
It's like I took a when people talk about like critical race theory, I took a African American like literature class, and it was the only one that was available because the other
Mhm.
classes were filled, and they're like, we'll have you next semester so you don't feel like the odd man out. I was like, I've never felt comfortable in life in general. You think I'm going to feel uncomfortable in a class? I got in there, I felt eyes piercing through the back of my head when they were reading a syllabus talking about like 50 years a slave and all these like stuff that
Mhm.
just makes you're basically the enemy in that situation. And I'm just like, I introduced myself. I was like, my name's Robbie. I'm a Capricorn. And then the whole class started laughing. And then afterwards, they were like, man, we were going to jump you after this class. I was like, for what? I didn't do shit. But it's just like
Yeah.
the optics of how it looks. And then we talk about Bill Cosby. Like, no matter what ethnicity or gender you are, you do a horrible act like that, I got an issue with you. I don't know what that is, but so many people are like, he's innocent. He's innocent. It's just being taken down. And then they put up things of like artist artwork of Bill Cosby, and they
Mhm.
look at like Picasso and then all these things and see how they stole it from this thing or they stole it from this thing. And I'm like, what are we talking about here? Like, I don't get it, but the way they mash up the videos now, you can incriminate anybody. Somebody could take
Yeah.
exactly what I just said, chop it up in such a way where I come out like a terrorist. I'm not a terrorist. I'm a good guy. I just had to blow a candle out because I can't have an open flame in the room.
It's very true for everyone who isn't here for that. Is very fire safety conscious.
That's how people die. I've seen it on the news. It's like quicksand. I never run into it, but I know it's out there waiting for somebody.
Um, yeah, Bill Cosby. Well, more. Let's go back to like being the only white kid in the room. So I went to all Boston public schools. I went to Somerville school, but essentially it's a Boston school because even though they're separate cities, they're one and the same. Um, but basically went to inner city schools my whole life because I grew up in the city and I didn't have money. So that's where you wind up going. So it wasn't really strange for me to be the token white girl in class. But now that I'm an adult and I'm not in that world anymore, I see how strange it is because other people can't connect with it because they're like, what do you mean you were the only white person in the class? That's not how the world works, because all these people I know from the suburbs now just don't understand that way. And I
Hmm.
mean, I certainly wasn't the only white girl, but like we definitely were in the minority for lack of a better word.
I've been a
Um,
minority in every single part of my life.
yeah,
I've worked housekeeping jobs, so there's not a lot of white people on staff and that. But I'm like,
yeah,
I think it's just about like, I don't know. I see so many people that like say like there's this inequality or this inequality. I'm like, but I'm not hearing it from the actual like people think it's like they make it seem like there's KKK people everywhere. I'm like, I don't know if that's a thing. I think it's all about like everybody's just really trying to find success in the world that we're in right now.
yeah. I think I think there's a lot of ignorance, and a
Yeah.
lot of what we call racism today is just pure fucking ignorance. Um like I don't know a lot of truly racist people. I know a couple. Um
Got a couple on the phone book there.
yeah, I mean, I I've known a couple people in my life that were just staunch racists. Like they were never going to like a black person no matter what, you know. And like that to me was always like a true racist. Like when you cannot see past someone's color to find their personality, you're a true racist. There's no That's not redeemable. And growing up in Boston and growing up in the 80s, shortly after the busing conflict, which I don't know if you know about the busing conflict in Boston. So in the mid 70s, I'm not sure what year, but they decided to do a busing program in Boston. And essentially, they were bringing kids from black neighborhoods into the white neighborhoods and vice versa. And white folks had a real problem. There's a very famous picture. If you look it up, if you look up busing in Boston, there's a very famous picture of a guy with an American flag, like looks like he's trying to stab a black guy with the American flag. Um, I actually met that guy in the past couple of years, and he was like, I was just some dumb kid skipping high school. And like, I decided to go do that, or whatever he said. But like, he was just some dumb young kid who like thought it would be cool to get into a scuffle he knew nothing about. But it just like Boston's considered a very racist city. And that's a big reason why and also people in Boston are just like, not so much anymore, but me growing up, they had no issue just being openly racist. Like they had no issue like just saying things to people and
Well, they're a seasoned
sharing.
people down there. They seem
Yeah.
salty. I mean, not like salty
Oh,
like by the ocean, but like when you talk to one of them, they're
yeah.
blatant as shit. And I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know if I like that or if I find it rude, but damn it if you don't speak your mind.
There's a lot of honesty in it. And honestly, I would rather someone who like is willing. I mean, I'm not black or a person of color, so I guess it doesn't really matter what I prefer, but um I prefer people to be honest. And if you're going to be a racist, I would at least like you to own it, because the kind of racism I can't stand is that like performative white person racism where they're like, oh no, we have to be sensitive to all these things. But like,
The
I
woke
don't
culture
actually
shit.
know. Yeah, I don't know any actual black people. And I call everyone an African American, even if it's clear they're not African or American, but that's like the right thing to do. Like that is a level of like ignorance and racism that I can't. Like, I would rather the guy who just like drops the N bomb every other word, because at least I know where that guy stands. And I'm very much a person that like, I'd rather just know where you stand, where I stand with you, where you stand with other people. I'd rather just know who you are. And I'll probably have more respect for you if you're a piece of shit, but you own being a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying?
I think society has evolved in so many ways, but we've de-evolved as well too with censorship and all these different things that go on now. You're just making it more difficult to root out truth with people, and it's very, very hard nowadays. Is why every like person seems like a nail and everything's kind of like you're a hammer in a way, like being able to look at everybody as like something that you could hit or something you could take down, is because
Yeah.
you don't know anymore. There's no information that's truly being led to you authentically. There's no actual, like, what I really enjoy about the authentic conversation thing is that you're saying what's on your mind, you're having your thought in this moment in time that's happening right now. And when you read a lot of things, a lot of stuff scripted nowadays. And I think that's why reality television is kind of so popular, is because a lot of people like that, like drama. A lot of people like think, but they know it's fake, but it comes off a little bit kind of real and drastic, which is why we like enjoy watching it. It's why Jersey Shore, Florida Bama are so big. None of those people are like that outside of that show. They're just these personalities, but they've made it into a real scenario, like an everyday life type thing, not a movie. Everything is so scripted nowadays where I'm like, if you talk to anybody now after this whole pandemic and be like, hey, and just be like, how's it going? They'll be like, they're like looking for the phrase that they have to say to get to the next part of the conversation. I'm like, just say, hey, back. Uh, I saw in a movie with Keanu Reeves where he said, "This is my house." And you're like, what? It's because all they've done is been able to monitor everything off TV now, where that's like the scripted stuff. I think people get more information from TV or media than they do in actual education now. And I think there's just a way that, like, we talk about revamping the education system. I just think there needs to be a class lesson on fucking life. And I don't think it's about paying your bills or any of those things that the common people say. I think it's more of the concept of like showing the good parts about it, showing that there's not a whole bunch of hate where when you turn into an adult, you're trying to root out all the hate. And it's like, well, hang on a second. The guy that doesn't want masks in his facility doesn't have to because it's his business and he has that right to. You can't shut him down or throw bricks at his window. We can't do that. We're not a toddler stomping our feet. We have to find a way that we can understand that people think differently than you, and that's okay. You're
Yeah.
supposed to be different. That's what unites us actually more, is that there's more diversity in this place that we live in. Not all everyone wants to go off similarities, like a bunch of yes men. And I'm like, geez, I want to have people that tell me I'm a nut job. Good. Explain to me why I'm a nut job. Why is OJ not innocent?
Yeah. I think it's funny that in a time, and you just made me think of this, in a time where everyone's supposedly so woke and so accepting of other people and concepts, tribalism is running amok. Like that thing that you just said of like, if only our similarities are the thing that matters, that's tribalism. Like if only people who share my point of view are the only people I'm having in my life, then I'm sticking to my tribe and my tribe alone. And it's funny because it's this conversation that's veiled in like, oh, we're all so open and accepting. And, but if you're not like me or think exactly like me or act exactly like me, you can go fuck yourself because I'm good,
No,
and
it's not that. You get
it's
burned like
kind
a
of a,
witch. You get
yeah,
burned like a witch to the stake, or you get thrown into a fucking river if you don't agree with what these people want anymore. And that's not how it was supposed to be. You're supposed
yeah,
to be, before you couldn't be open because if you were open, you might end up being getting called a witch. And then now it's like, if you're open and you don't agree with my point of view, then you're still going to be burned like a witch. Like I think a crazy awesome thing that happened recently was that all those college kids that got the last witch that was hung at the Salem witch trials, they finally cleared her name. And throughout the history book, she was like just witch, might have been falsely accused, but they actually cleared her name, fixed her gravestone, did all this type of stuff. And I'm like, in honor. I'm like, that's real power. That's real moving forward. But like,
yeah,
I don't know. What I see now is like a bunch of people just like there's so many people with something in their profile photo or profile like motto or something. And I'm like, I'm glad you have it in your fucking motto because by looking at your profile, I couldn't tell you were actually in support of that thing that you say you're in support of because you don't post about it. You post a dog picture, which I don't mind, but you post a book picture and then you post like at whatever, just like taking a selfie. I'm like, where's the fucking support thing? I haven't seen any tweets about support. You're just saying it in your profile. That gets me the biggest is when they say like, their name and they say in parentheses half vaxxed and then their ending of their last name. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? What kind of profile photo do you want with that?
what's half vaxxed?
Like you got half your vaccine, but you didn't get the other second shot that's coming down the way. So you want to let everyone know that you're on the process to being a good human being. Because if you don't get it, then you're a piece of shit. I guess I'm a piece of shit.
Um, I think we're always looking for a villain.
Yeah. Green Goblin, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
Spider-Man.
I
Whoops.
uh, to bring it back to Salem and witch trials and all that fun stuff, like this is this was the energy of that time, right? Because you had a war happening, you had King Philip's War happening, you had religious strife, you had financial strife, you had people just feeling super insecure and people just feeling angry and fearful all of the time. And it's and it's not the only other time in history right now that that's happened, but this is it. Like this is that energy, right? Of like, I'm afraid of my future and I'm angry about it. Who can I blame? Who can I make the villain of my story? You know, every, this morning I was actually reading, and like I'll it'll bring up different names and stuff who like there's just certain guys that I'm like, wow, you were a real dick. And I'm always like, that's the villain. That's the villain of the Salem witch trials. That's the villain of this story. And it's not, because like once I start digging deeper, like they were really just a person who was reacting in a very human way of like, I need to protect this thing that feels like mine, you know? And I think that's a lot of what we're all doing right now is like, we're all just trying to protect this thing that's mine. Like the anti-vaxxers are trying to protect the thing that's theirs. The vaxxers are trying to protect the thing that's theirs, and we all have a common goal, which is just to protect ourselves. And we're all equally angry, we're all equally fearful, none of us really know what's coming down the pike, but instead of recognizing that and saying let's come together, what's actually happening is like we're looking at each other in like some villainous way, you know and like that's the shit that needs to stop.
Well, when it consumes your mind, you manifest it. In the early literature, the very first books, besides like religious texts, were books about witches. And then if you correlate that to not even that far off was the Salem witch trials and everyone hunting a witch. It's because you got it so absorbed into your mind, like people casting spells, magic, all these witches and things. Next thing you know, you're walking around the world like, maybe they're a witch, maybe they're a witch, maybe they're a witch. And it starts to get
Yeah.
this crazy thing. And that's kind of what's happening now. Everything we see is either political, divisive. Like, there was I don't know if you remember this. It wasn't that far off or that long ago. Around Valentine's Day, there was a meme of Bernie Sanders with his gloves sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it says like whatever, it had like a Valentine's card with Bernie on it. But then you look at that, like that's when the internet started kind of coming back after this long while where it was kind of shut off and there really wasn't any trends. Everybody was more focused on getting the information on the vaccine or whatever. But then, like the recent pictures of George Bush are trending now from the thing in Pakistan and all this type of stuff that's going on. And I'm like, I felt like I got reverted back to when we were during the middle of Iraq, when we were going after Osama bin Laden and all that. I got reverted back to that time period where I was like, that's the last time I saw pictures of that guy or people talking shit on him, or Gabriel Iglesias had a special about him saying, Katrina, we'll find her. Like, making fun of them in that manner. But then it's like it's all coming back, and I'm like, I hope we're not just in a state of like repetitiveness, and we're going to end up moving forward. But it's all about like what's consuming our minds right now. Longest time
Yeah.
is COVID, still kind of COVID, but we're kind of pulling out of that a little bit, and we're focused on other things again. We're focusing on like war things again. But there's just so much that ends up tossing you back in. It's like we're in a washing machine that's constantly just circling us around and rethrowing it right back out there. Like OJ's back, the OJ thing on Netflix. I was like, what the hell? That came out like 5, 8 years ago.
I gotta watch that. Yeah, no doubt in my mind that OJ's guilty. Come at me, OJ. I don't give a
The
fuck.
glove didn't fit. He barely got his hand in
Yeah.
that thing too. He got like the fingertips and he's like, I don't fit.
The problem with OJ is everyone knew he was guilty. Everyone. There was not one person that believed this guy was truly innocent. No one at the time.
I did.
Really? I clearly didn't. Like
He was a
it,
naked gun. You can't condemn him after that. Anything he does after that is okay.
all right, fair. But like but still, like everyone knew he was guilty. Like there was too much evidence stacked against him. But they got like, and this is where like if you're a cop just let it sort itself out. You don't need to fucking plant evidence, especially if you're a white cop and it's a black guy. Stop planting evidence, guys. Like, if he's guilty, he's guilty. It'll sort itself out. And like this he could have just gone to jail and gotten exactly what he deserved, and people had to fuck with it because they needed a conviction. They needed to have someone be, once again, they needed someone to be a villain, and like human actions take over. And they're like, well, what if he's not found out? He's rich, he's powerful, he's well liked. What if he's not convicted? Then these people who died just get no justice. And like that human moment of like someone making a really bad choice because they need to suss out the villain. Same with Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's walking around free today because some guy really needed to villainize him. And even though I don't know how much you know about the Bill Cosby thing and why he was freed, but
It was a technicality
stop.
because they didn't do the proper method of forgot.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened was the woman, the victim, the DA, there was a DA, there was a victim. DA said to the victim, listen, I don't have enough to like charge him and prosecute him. He will go not guilty. There will be no retribution for you. What I can do, and I'm verbatim, I don't know everything about the case, but like the bit I've read on it, basically what they said was, what we can do is we can kind of get him into this deal that if you civilly serve him and take him to court, whatever he says in that, he cannot be criminally charged after that. And because they knew criminally they wouldn't get anywhere with the charges, civilly at the very least she could get some sort of justice, she could get some sort of money, she could get some sort of retribution to go on and live her life, right? And that was the choice that DA made, which was, we're not going to charge you criminally no matter what comes out in the civil case. There it is. This DA leaves, a new DA comes in, and he goes, wait a minute, he incriminated himself in the civil case. I got him. I have him criminally now. And they charged him criminally. They used the civil case against him, and he went to jail. Now, whether you believe he should be in jail or not, due process was not served. And the thing that makes this country great is our fucking civil, or not our civil, our justice system is flawed for sure, but definitely the best one in the world, because due process is so important. And I think it was Benjamin Franklin, but I might be wrong, but whoever said it is better for 100 guilty men to go free than one innocent man to sit in jail, or whatever that quote is, like, that is our justice system. So yeah, does Bill Cosby deserve to be in jail? Probably. Should he be in jail based on him not serving getting the correct due process? No. Find something criminally wrong and charge him.
Would you go back to the better law in Egypt where if you stole somebody's like fruit, you got your hand chopped off? Less people would be committing crimes.
Yeah, but that's also a sort of justice that is not civilized.
Technicalities. What's civilized now? Like, I don't even know what's civilized anymore. Our adoptions of what civilization really is. We're not even in a good civilization. We're still class 1. We could be class 2. Class 2 is living in space.
I'm waiting for Jean-Luc Picard.
Who the hell is Jean-Luc Picard?
What?
I don't watch
How
Star
do you
Trek.
not know? Oh, Star Trek Next Generation. You have to watch it. It's so good.
I'm good. I already have enough time for Star Wars, and that was about it.
Oh,
I don't
it's
watch a lot
so
of
good.
TV. I've been taking a lot of time off from like devices and social media, and I don't know. It's so weird. I'm on Twitter a lot though. The trends, oh my God, they changed so drastically. I'm like, what's a good trend that's going to change the rest of the world? Like, why is every single person from Silicon Valley, like Steve Jobs, why did they all take psychedelics and then create something amazing?
Steve Jobs didn't actually create anything. Just saying.
He had Elon Musk is the same way, but guess what? He's the one making billions of dollars, and now there's a Tesla robot coming out where I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah. That guy's a sociopath.
Ah, ah.
His eyes scare me. I don't like him.
Yeah, I
There's
look at him.
something wrong.
Look, I know plenty of people that don't like him, and I go, he's just a person that doesn't care about making your life better. He's just trying to make his life easier. Hence the digging tunnels. But I watched his documentary where they had 6 kids, and his wife was talking at a TED talk, and everyone's like, "Why do you only have pictures of 5? Do you not like to talk about the other one?" She's like, "Well, he died at 10 weeks." And that's when Elon just threw himself into his work and became very, very disconnected. I don't like that he was with Johnny Depp's wife while she was still dating Johnny or married to Johnny. I was like, all right, that's a little bit risky business there, pal. Why did
Yeah,
she
I
need
don't
that
really
money
know
from
much.
Johnny if she's married to Elon Musk? Like, gee, that's a what is that? What is that?
Didn't
You
they
explain that
didn't
to
they
me.
have some terribly abusive relationship with each other?
No, actually, it turns out there's like prime evidence of her lying in court, and everybody took Johnny's side. And I was like, that's the very first time in our amazing legal system that the guy has ever been sided with in that situation. Most of the time, it's the female.
That's really untrue, actually.
I feel
If
like
you
it's mostly the woman
well, if you look at instances of
with
domestic
kids.
abuse,
No,
domestic
I meant
abuse
with
and things like
divorcing and
that,
separating.
yeah.
It's if it's domestic abuse, it's always
Well, it depends
guys
on
with.
who has more money,
Yeah, but when
right? So if the guy holds the purse strings, she's not going to get very far.
I feel like most of the times in a separation case, when someone's getting the house or someone's getting the kids, it's always the woman in that situation. It's a very rare
Usually,
possibility. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
usually, but like we're talking about like that's like average people, right? We're talking about people with a lot of money and a lot of influence. Like I don't know why Johnny Depp has the influence he does. He's kind of a shit human.
What?
Yeah, he is. He's a major drug addict. I'm gonna get sued by Johnny Depp now, but whatever.
He doesn't listen to
Um
my show, or does
he
he?
might,
Yeah.
but like no, I mean his drug abuse is famous. He's kind of a terrible guy, you know?
I'm not.
And
I took chemical dependency. I'm not mad if you do drugs, but you're effective at your job. Marion
yeah.
Barrion, the mayor of D.C., he was uh, caught on camera smoking crack. They
Yeah.
reelected him.
And I'm not saying if you do drugs, you're a terrible person. I'm just saying because I clearly have done drugs and I'm not a terrible person.
But you
But
got to do a cool drug. Pot's not a cool drug. You need cocaine or
no,
something.
yeah. But like he has a history of just not being a great guy.
I know. I've seen some stories.
Yeah.
He's still
And
handsome.
is he? I don't know. His
I,
teeth are all fucked up from drugs.
I
His
can't. I can't talk on teeth. I have
yeah.
messed up teeth myself.
He I don't know. He can't like form a sentence properly. He just
He's
seems like he'd be
constant
super.
Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. He just seems like he'd be super annoying to talk to. Like if he came up to me and was like, "Oh, I'm Johnny Depp," I'd be like, you think you're a poet or some shit."
I
Like,
got
yeah,
the
like
best
he's that
question for
guy.
you. Fuck, marry, kill. Pick any actor. Who would you fuck?
Oh. Uh
It's a very bold question leading off with the fucking one, but I have to say it. Which one? Guy or
I don't know
girl? It
if I
doesn't
know
matter.
I
I
don't know
won't
if I know
judge.
any actors anymore.
Could be anybody. Anybody. How about that?
Brad Pitt.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though he's disappointed me a lot over the last few years, he's still like the hottest dude ever.
What about Mary?
Um, Paul Rudd.
Wow, you're the second person to say that to me. Okay.
Only
I've
because he's the first person coming to mind. But yeah, I feel like he's
he's a good human.
yeah. Or Ryan Reynolds. Actually,
Damn.
I'm changing my answer to Ryan Reynolds.
Damn, you picked mine. Okay. Kill. What about kill?
Tom Cruise.
You hate
I don't
Tom
even have to
Cruise?
think about that one.
Okay. A lot of people don't like him. I didn't know he was that hated.
Oh,
I've had a couple Scientology episodes that have basically brought me to tears, and finding out that Tom Cruise actually has what he believes to be superpowers, but you could fix your mental health by screaming at an ashtray. I was like, you might just be an asshole, good sir.
or the fact that the Sea Org members of Scientology are basically his house staff. So effectively, he uses slave labor because those people don't get paid. They get paid maybe $50 a week. They work 18 hours a day, and they're basically held in bunkers and not allowed to leave. They don't get passports. They don't get anything. They are Like when they escape, they have to escape Scientology. They don't just get to walk out the door. So yeah, that Tom Cruise perpetuates that. He's
I'm sure there's plenty of people that tried to escape the Boy Scouts that couldn't escape, but you know, we still have them going around today.
Yeah, but the Boy Scouts aren't a cult, or at least not a real cult. Like
Did they
not a
teach you how to whittle sticks? You
I
know,
don't know. I wasn't in the Boy Scouts.
have you ever seen Norm Macdonald show on Netflix?
I don't know if I've ever seen like the actual, like I saw a couple of episodes back in the day.
There was a guy who was his side host or co-host. It was Adam Egget, and he has the craziest cult experience. There was this camp in the middle of Joshua Tree called Sea-Doo, and they would take all these kids up there. They were like misfortunate youth or kids that were like out of like control that needed to be put into a
Mm-hmm.
special group. He spent 3 years at this camp, and he talked about they would just give you a canister of water for 2 days out in the middle of Joshua Tree, which is a desert. And he talked
Mm-hmm.
about like the camp was on the side of a cliff, and like campers would try and escape. A guy had fallen off the cliff and died, and then a girl slit her own throat at the camp because there would just be this like insane conditions. Like they would have this thing called the meeting circle, and at the meeting circle there was like some mentally like unhealthy people there, and this
Mm-hmm.
girl would just like people would put towels out in front of her and she would just scream so much to where she's popping all the blood vessels in her eyes and there's snot coming out of her nose and there's spit going everywhere, and the towels were meant to capture all that. Or and it would happen 3 days a week, and he was like, fuck, this is my life for the next 2.5 years. Every 3 days, I'm going to be experiencing something like this. And then it's like, turns out this thing happened to be like a little cult or this crazy thing. And
Mm-hmm.
then now they can't find it. It's completely wiped off the map and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I was like, that's the stuff I want to rule out. I want to find that. That's real fucking horrible acts. And we're worried about
Yeah.
fucking people who aren't eating vegan. I'm like, focus on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And God forbid we get those people some like mental health help. You know,
I
like
think if you've
people
been
look at
through too
teenagers
much,
acting out and they're like, they're just a bad kid. They're just a bad kid.
I think if you've been through something like a horrible experience, I think there needs to be proper methods to get you like a free way to help you get over those types of faults. Like it's very, very strange how long it took to get benefits from the first responders on 9/11 to be able
Oh
to
yeah.
get like that. What are we doing as people where we're not focused on that type of thing? Like
And guess what? You know who fucking helped them get those benefits? Not
John
politicians.
Colbert or
Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart. Damn it, I always fuck up his
Jon
name.
Stewart. Yeah. The guy that is called a liberal and all these, actually he was never really vilified too much because he was pretty respectful to both sides. Like he called people out, but he called people out on both sides, but it was very clear he was liberal. But like he was considered the big liberal media back then, and really the only place you could get like a good source of news was the Daily Show. And he's the guy who helped. None of these fucking Republicans who were talking about going to Afghanistan or starting wars, they didn't give a shit.
Well, it
We
goes
only
back
went
to
over there for money and oil
yeah.
and control.
It goes back to the thing we talked about in the beginning about authenticity. We don't have a whole lot of authenticity anymore. Like it's very strange when you find authenticity, it's now coming from TikTok and World Star Hip Hop that used to be a fighting network. They're actually now news, like TikTok is news. Most people go to TikTok to get their news. It went from actual news corporations then to like the Colbert Show, whatever Jon Stewart or the Colbert Report, all these types of fake comedy news shows because people wanted to hear the news, but they wanted to get into comedy format. And then now it's gone to TikTok and World Star Hip Hop, and then now it's like going off of social media. Facebook will tell you something that's happening, and that's where most people come across their information now and come across articles. It's just very, very strange. I'm like, I get it because it's a heated topic, but like everything's so one-sided. I'm like, can I get like a person that has no biases in anything just to be able to talk about it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I, how do I put this? I wouldn't go to TikTok for my news. I don't even know really what TikTok is. I think it's just like the short videos, right?
Yeah, I don't use
Yeah.
TikTok, but that's just been like everyone talks about it. Like they'll
Yeah.
repost a COVID thing or they'll repost something like this, and like you see this person, and it's like actual like people like going through a whole breakdown of something
Yeah.
like uh it was called Instructed. It was trending on Twitter. And I was like, what the hell's this? And it was Biden's speech that he just did recently. He goes,
Mhm.
I have been instructed to call upon, and then name somebody, said of MSNBC, as he was giving a public speech about Pakistan. And everyone's like, instructed? So they're choosing someone that they talk to toss you softball questions. Like, what? What are we doing now? Like, there's a bunch of people that were on his party or Democrat, whatever, that were like, wait a minute, what? And it's like, I don't know anymore, dude. You can't look at news anymore. That's why you gotta like take a break sometime. You get upset.
Yeah. You know what? Don't look at the news. I stopped watching the news.
When they were beating baby seals. That was a
No,
big trend back in the day too, beating baby seals and making purses out of them.
I don't know how you could do that. They're so cute. But like probably 5 years after 9/11, I stopped watching the news completely. Completely stopped watching. Do you know how
2006.
much it's probably right around there? Yeah. Right around the time where like Fox News became way too much to handle, and because like Fox News used to be funny, right? Like I used to turn it on and watch it, and like it was kind of a funny point of view to me because it was so right wing, and I'm not super right wing. I'm not sure I'm very left wing anymore either. I think I happily sit right there in the middle, but like it was so right wing back then, and I was still pretty left leaning because I was like post college, kind of still in my early 20s, very, you're still gonna fix the world at that age. And I stopped watching, and I'll tell you, my life has not, if only improved since then. I get the news when I need it. When big important things happen, I find out. You know how I find out? People will talk about it. I learned about COVID because people started talking about it, and I was like, oh, there's a thing happening. Okay, cool. Yeah. you
Yeah, when the
know
world shuts down.
yeah, and even when it stopped, even when it like became a thing and the world was shutting down and all that stuff, like I was going to the CDC website just to kind of see what was up. I was checking like boston.gov just to see like what was open, what was closed, just kind of see like where things were, but I wasn't watching the news about it. I didn't care enough to watch the news about it. And when people try to like debate me and be like, well, what about this thing on the news and what about that thing on the news, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't watch the news. Like I am an uninformed person. But you know what, it probably makes me a happier person, and it probably makes me a more balanced person because there really is no balance anymore. And so unless you're ignoring all of it and just kind of forming your own opinions, critical thinking as they call it, uh like you're not actually, critical thinking is something totally different. But um you know I'm happier and I'm better. I don't want to know. I don't care. If I do look for the news, if there's something going on that I really do want to pay attention to, I go to bbc.com. I don't go to any news source that's here.
The host of that just died, didn't she?
I don't know. I don't follow.
About to say the host of that just died. That was trending on Twitter.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
and not
Lisa Shaw died due to complications caused by AstraZeneca COVID jab. Damn it! Why did I read that? YouTube, don't take me down. It was an accident. I've gotten taken down one of my videos, and then they ended up checking it and putting it back up there. But you can't be obsessed with the news. You can't watch it 24/7, or you're gonna end up being one of
yeah,
those crazy people that never want to go out and experience the world because you're afraid of everything. And then I mean, it's good to stay informed, but this is why I like conspiracies so much. I don't like the crazy ones where they talk about microchips and shit, but I like talking about like the flat earth, or I like talking about um what's a good one? Simulation theory. I like those ones because there's stuff that like you can't really explain, but you can look at it and be like, that's insane, or that's this, because then it brings a whole light to the conversation rather than all the serious, heavy topics. Like we started this
yeah,
podcast off with a race thing from OJ. And then like
yeah,
trying to get to a better platform from there, it gets hard. You see that muck that you have to go through to kind of get out of that. Like we got to make sure we can't just skip on or skip over it, not talk about it. We got to now find a way to pull ourselves out of it by talking about it. And that's just because as a society, we've stigmatized so many topics that even mentioning it's like mentioning the word fucking Voldemort, and then you can't ever say those words again. And I'm like, man, when you restrict the flow of information, you literally are creating dumb society. And I
Yeah.
think if people want to find that information, they should be able to find that information, but it shouldn't be shoved down your throat. I'm hoping that with like Joe Rogan now opening his own club and all this type of stuff that he's doing, that maybe there'll be a push for like more like political people to start their own free range platforms where there's open discussions about things. Like I think there are some like political people on certain sides that'll get guests from another side and come on their show, but it's a debate at that point. And I'm like, well, why don't we get some people just to have like an open, like a podcast conversation style thing on it where you can listen to it and nobody's on a certain side. Like people watch Crowder videos because they like Crowder edging college kids on a campus. But
Yeah.
what happens if we just get like a platform where two people can just chat? We have like a Neil deGrasse Tyson or Joe Rogan style thing where it's just two people chatting and then having this like nobody's picking a side. They're just talking about their views and expressing themselves. And maybe we understand a better intellectual grasp of thought. I don't know. I might be insane in saying that.
I think Bill Maher's been doing that for about 20 years now.
That's his name. I couldn't think of the guy's name. He had
Yeah.
he's probably, I think he even said it. He denounces Trump, but then he also denounces Biden too. He's not a libertarian though. He's more like left, but he has some strong views on some
He's a
things.
very left-leaning libertarian, which is, yeah. I, I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you what any of those things really mean. I just know that he tends to be very liberal. But but he has everybody on his show. And whether he agrees with you or disagrees with you, you know, y'all walk out the door as friends. And that's what needs to happen more. Like we don't have to agree on everything, but we shouldn't become enemies over it either. I mean, there are certain things that like if you like there are just certain topics that if you were like this is how I feel about it, I'd be like, all right, I don't like you as a human being now because
The
like
moon landing's
that
fake.
view,
Prove me wrong.
it's not fake.
It's 100% fake. That is some backwood Hollywood shit.
Well, what did I saw some meme recently that was like the moon landing was faked. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin did it on location, filmed it on location.
That's why they have stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah. But it was just really funny because I was like filmed and people are like, yeah, it was filmed on location. I'm like, that means the moon, guys. That means it happened on the moon.
I don't
But
know.
um
Mm.
I
Mm.
listen, I think if Jeff Bezos can fly a giant vibrator into the sky in this day and age where he's just some dude.
It's been 40 years.
Yeah, but we've been going to Mars. I mean, people haven't been going to Mars, but we have the technology to go to
Because
Mars.
it's been 40 something years.
Right. But what's
I
what's
hope that
what's
we
your
had
point?
space travel now and not back then. It doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to have space tech. A lot of people don't even know where our space program comes from. Warner von Braun, the leader of the Nazi program. It's all like Nazi inventions that lead our space program.
Is that why it starts with an N?
Well, that's just national air. But Warner von Braun was the head of our space program. But we like the Nuremberg trials and all that, where we forgave a lot of Nazi scientists only because we wanted their research, because it was like
Oh, yeah.
can't stop what happened, and we might as well get the research from it. Warner von Braun used to hang the 5 slowest Jews outside of his rocket facility, and we
Mhm.
had him running our space program for the longest time. So I'm looking at this like, oh, whole life is a lie. No wonder there's college kids ripping up textbooks and starting fires everywhere. I want to be told the truth. Tell me the honest history, the real stuff where we get into the nitty gritty of things.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's my question, right? People talk about the moon landing all the time. Why does no one ever call into question the Russian space program that was less advanced, less money behind? Well, they had money, but like there was less technology behind it. And like they were a third world country. They got to space. No one ever questions that though. But we question American space travel all the time.
I think it's just because on the aspect of my view of it is that we needed a win because we were already hurting from the war, and this space race was like the last morale booster for the country. So if we just faked it and said, I think we landed up there, but I just don't think we landed when that video happened. I think that's a little bit falsified stuff. But people go super into it where it was like the guy who made the Exorcist movie is the one, or The Shining directed it all, and I'm like, I don't know about all that stuff. Kubrick, whatever his name is.
Stanley Kubrick. I don't know. I've seen Kubrick movies. I don't think he could pull off the moon landing, and I love him, but
I just think it's because it all ends up boiling down to whatever information we know about Russia. I doubt we know the whole entire thing. It's all the optics of how things look. Back in the day, they were able to trick the media and not posting about raising a submarine out of like a frozen ice shelf in like the Arctic that we had a project on. We did that without media ever even exploiting it out there until long after it was finished with, and the project files were decommissioned later. So I'm like, that's not today's age. You fart and someone gets it on video and then they throw it up on there like, oh, but you see this guy just farted, he's a political office leader. There's no secrets anymore. It's much harder to pull off. But back in the day, you if something happened a couple states away from you probably never heard about it back in the day because there was no device to tell you that that happened.
yeah, but okay, just to go back to your argument that the war was happening and it was like a good faith effort for the war. The war lasted well into the 70s, and the real fallout of the world war didn't happen till the 70s. So
So it was a morale booster.
was it though? Because there was still protests happening. Like nothing really changed, and not everyone was like, "Oh, cool, all right." Like free love still happened, protesting still happened, all the shit still kept going. So yeah, maybe it was a failed effort at morale boosting, but it wasn't. Like
I think it
there's
succeeded
really
in
no
morale
reason.
boosting.
Maybe I don't know. I
There's the
don't know
iconic
enough
photo of
about
the Navy guy holding the girl down and kissing her on the lips while they're dancing in the middle of the street.
that's World War II.
Isn't that what the space race?
No,
It's
that
versus the
was
Nazis. I
no,
know.
that was
I'm,
after. Yeah.
I'm messing with you.
I'm like,
Um,
no, wait, no.
but I think I just look at it like maybe it's a morale booster. I don't know. I mean, I don't know 100%. Maybe it's real. I'm not saying it's not, but it's just weird. Maybe people bring up the point of like, why did we never go back up there? After all those years back. And people say,
But we
what's the
did.
point? What do you mean, what's the point? There's space colonization we could focus on. Be a civilization too before the younger, drier theory takes this one out.
The moon's too small for that, though.
What?
The
It's like
moon's not big.
it's like a size of a country.
Right. But like, what are you going to colonize? There's no oxygen. There's no way to really survive up there.
You're telling me after a while of being able to do scientific efforts to be able to discover living on another planet, we wouldn't find better ways? Like eventually we get oxygen
There's
tablets to
there's no
swallow.
water.
Yes, there is.
No, there is
Buzz Buzz
not the kind of
Aldrin
water.
Buzz Aldrin, after he said he allegedly went up there, he talked about there's two things. There's water on the moon and there's an obelisk on Mars. They found water on the moon, and then they're now looking at pictures from whatever that drone or whatever that rover is that they sent over there. There might be an obelisk
Yeah.
on Mars. So he's been right about two of those things.
Right. But humans can't survive on the moon. They just can't. Scientifically, the humans cannot survive on the moon. It's too. You can look at what is the country, Jesus Christ, the planet that most simulates. Is it Mars that's most like Earth? Or
I know which one you're
we,
talking about, but I forgot the name
yeah,
of it.
yeah, whichever
Mobius?
one.
Well, that's the guy from the Matrix.
Yeah, but they think that planet once looked like this planet or something like that. I don't know. I'm talking out of my.
I'm
depth
so
here,
happy
so.
that you're on this episode with me because then we can just sit here and ramble and we don't have to have any. I'm tired of the scientific proof. Maybe I want to ramble and just speculate. Is that
Yeah.
okay for people listening
Yeah.
out there? Thank you.
Yeah. Can we talk about the flat Earth? Because that one is like one of my
What?
favorite.
Please do.
Things.
My childhood hero is a flat earther. Let's do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's your childhood hero?
His name's Jason Latona. I'll have to send you his most recent episode, but his is the one that got me pulled down because he said a bunch of words you can't say. I'm like, you can't say that. He goes, what? I can't say that either. I'm like, no, you can't say that. He goes, and I had an English person reach out. He goes, that's what we call cigarettes. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean the same in this country.
Oh yeah, yeah, got it. Um, so no one's ever believed the Earth was flat, though. No one
You talk
ever
to him, he will
in
straight up tell you.
history.
He goes, I will, Robbie. I know you've talked to astrophysicists. I was like, yeah. And I asked them the questions that you brought up in our episode. And he goes, I will fucking shoot them down. And I'm like, Jason, no, it's not flat. But that I've seen videos on it. People believe it to a T. And at some points they're right. But then I bring up the science, and it's just somebody who believes in something so much. I mean, maybe it is flat. I don't know. Maybe we're in a dome.
Um, but if you've ever flown, and most people I find who are flat earthers have never really been on a plane, or certainly not internationally. If you've ever flown internationally, you're high enough up where you can see the arc of the earth. Also, if it's flat, how am I going to the other side of the earth without falling into space and dying?
I think when you look at the concept of like, why are there jet pilots who like fly in like these high propelled jets that talk about how the earth is flat? You start wondering, like, you're a pilot. How do you think the earth is flat? This is one I just haven't looked that far into because I've had astrophysicists tell me no, it's not. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
you probably know, but at the same
I
time, I
mean,
don't know what convinces people so much.
and
I think plants
I
have a
guess
form of
like,
intelligence.
yeah, I guess I can't fully understand like
You
what they
can't.
mean by flat, because is it then two dimensional? Because that's definitely not true. So it has to be three dimensional. So is it like a coaster where you have two flat sides and then like a little lip?
I think it's
And
just they think it's 100% just flat.
like it's just
Like if you ever
like
play
like a
Minecraft,
map,
yeah.
like how maps are
Well, that's
a
why they
flattened
say,
out earth,
why is a globe round but a map's flat? That's why they say that's one of their conspiracy ideas too.
because they flatten out the map to make it
Yeah,
fit on one
no
page.
shit, but at the
So you
same time, they don't want to hear that.
can teach geography. In
um,
fact, when you're in second grade and they start teaching you like real geography, your teacher, or at least my teacher, was like, imagine a globe. They just literally cut it and open it and flat on the page so we can learn this stuff.
I got one
Otherwise, you
even.
would all have to have a fucking globe on your desk.
I got one even better for you. Christopher Columbus didn't exist. It's all a
Oh, he
made up
absolutely
ploy
existed.
from the
There's
government. Nope,
documents to
lies.
prove.
Governmental tamperations,
See, this
conspiracies.
is the problem with all of these fucking conspiracies, right? They are all hinged upon the fact that they think anyone who wasn't part of the 20th century or later was stupid, uneducated, didn't know how to read, write, or anything like that. And the greatest intellectuals lived 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. So we have archaeological data that tells us like what Copernicus ate for breakfast. Like there's, I don't know if that actually exists, by the way.
if
I'm just
Adam
like
and
making
Eve,
shit up, but
if Adam and Eve were the first two people ever created, do you think they had belly buttons? Then why do they always show depictions of belly buttons and all the things if they didn't need an umbilical cord because they weren't birthed?
because that's a fake story about fake people who never
You're
actually
telling
existed.
me God isn't real? What? You've said too much already. I look at it like if I was gonna, think I have better conspiracy theories than a lot of these ideas that have been created out there. But man, I don't. You gotta have fun with them, to be honest. To me,
Yeah.
there's only one I really get upset about, and that's MK Ultra. If you say that didn't exist and that's been a known program and there's been declassified files on it where people were being programmed and brainwashed, like psychological social experiments are like my bread and butter. I love
Well,
those things so much.
yeah. And those have some bite to them, only because like of the Tusky, what is it? I can't ever fucking say
Tuskegee
the word.
syphilis experiments?
Yes, that the birth control experiments in Puerto Rico, like World War II, Mengele, like yes, any of those sorts of things, I can be like, I don't want to believe that that happened, because I want to believe that like people aren't just that cruel. But yeah, that probably happened. The government fucking with people's heads, of course it happened,
I know
because how
so
do
many
you?
government projects.
Yeah, yeah.
Project Adversion is probably my least. That's the one I just don't want to even really look a whole lot into because it's so horrible. Back in our troops in Africa, they used to be like, if let's say you were a guy and you were gay, what they would do
Mm-hmm.
is they chop off your dick and make you a woman. So then it's right. That's how they used to do things back then. On Project Adversion was changing your sex to match the sexual orientation that best fits normal society. That's when I'm like, no wonder there are all these people fighting for rights on this concept of this thing. So there's horrible shit like that, but they don't even know that history.
I mean, that still happens. I recently met a person who knows a person who knows another person. I'm going to say this very indirectly. I doubt that they'll hear this, but I just don't want anyone called out or
You're
know who I'm
telling me
really
I'm not a
talking
top
about.
name show?
Well, no, I just don't think the particular person I'm talking about will be like, "Oh, Laney's on a podcast," because they don't really know me. That's the only reason I'm
First, you
saying
tell
that.
me God's not real. Now you're telling me my
Yeah.
show isn't what I've hoped it would ever be. Johnny Depp's not listening. Damn it.
I personally just don't have the pull as a guest to get like some person that doesn't really know me to listen based on the fact that I'm here talking right now. Sorry.
I think you got a lot of admirers, probably.
Aw. Um, but so this person who's very Christian went through some homosexual deprogramming, and they used to be gay.
That's happened. Yeah.
And I'm like, and then like someone was saying that they were in some like special group of other people who used to like went through the same thing, and they all used to be gay and now they support each other. I'm like, so it's basically like a big old sex club where they pretend they're not gay but they're actually gay, because you're
So it's
gay.
like book club.
Yeah, but like repressed homosexuality book club, yes.
Hmm.
So yeah, we could go on for hours about the stupidity of like homophobic people, but
I don't. I had there's a comedian Tim Dillon. I don't know if you know who he is,
no.
but he's gay and he doesn't look like it because he looks like hundred
What?
percent. He looks like a right winger. He looks like the most Republican person ever on a anything. He's a overweight guy, but he always talks about like the global elites, and he's like an Alex Jones type. But he's like, there's no being gay anymore. And they're like, what do you mean? He goes, if you talk to anybody about being gay, they go, like, he was cracking a joke. He goes, a grandfather's going to talk to his grandkid about coming out of the closet. And the kid goes, do you know how hard it is to be a 13-year-old pansexual witch? And it's like, oh shit, that's true. It's like, now they're like, he was talking about it's an insult to him being a gay guy. He goes, now everyone's saying, like, there was a tweet and there was actually, it was trending for a while. It was talking about, you're not officially um woke until you don't care about your date's genitalia. And then him being a gay guy, he goes, now you're just dismissing me, because if it was easier if I didn't care about my date's genitalia, then I could have easily gotten laid no matter who the person was. But he is gay, so he specifically liked men, so he couldn't go after that. And I was like, yeah,
um,
I mean, I guess like I don't know. It's very, very strange. I don't care what you want to be. I got family members that are gay. I got family members that are lesbian. I don't care. But I just look at it like, what damage are we causing right now? Are we going to be like an avocado where one day we're just going to expire?
no, no, this happened in I remember in the 90s, like everybody was like something, right? And the terms weren't quite as like colorful as they are today. Because people will tell me like what they are, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And whatever, to each their own. I don't care. I don't care. I genuinely just don't give a fuck what you are. And people who are trying to work through their sexuality, whatever that might be, um cool. I don't care. But like I've recently, like maybe a year or so ago, someone walked up to me and they're like, I'm bisexual. I was like, okay. And they're like, what do you have to say about that? I'm like, literally, I don't care.
Whoa,
I
that's a bold
could
statement.
give a fuck less. And they were just like, oh. I'm like, it doesn't impact me. I'm sorry. Like,
I think that pisses me off more is when someone's looking for that pushback and so they could just
yeah,
tear into somebody. I'm like, why are you looking for hostility?
yeah. Because I don't know. I think people just want to be. These are people who act that way, not people
They're
who are
fucking brainwashed.
figuring out with their sexuality, but people who are looking for that kind of reaction, they just want to be heard. They're looking to be heard and seen, and they're gonna force it on you because they're not feeling heard and seen. You know?
And then they meet people like us that just don't give a fuck about
Yeah.
whatever they're
I
doing.
I
I'm
just
worried about going home and watching the next episode of Supernatural and eating some ramen and crying
yeah
myself to sleep. Is that okay with everyone else out there? If I want to
yeah
believe the
like
moon landing is fake and that Osama bin Laden is still alive and that this episode is God damn it.
Osama bin Laden actually landed on the moon first.
Yes, let's do it. I got a good one about turf. Do you want to hear my turf one I've mentioned a couple of times?
Is that the feminists?
What?
No.
No, that's the Young Turks. No, no, I mean turf, like artificial grass, like turf.
Oh,
So I made a conspiracy theory. I've mentioned it a couple times on the show, but how many people do you know with a sports injury from like high school or some shit?
a few.
How many of those a few have said, it stopped me from going pro?
Every guy I ever met from Southie. Every
I
guy
think it's
I
the
ever met from
turf. I
Southie.
think the coach sees you being successful and be like, he's going to go on to the next scholarship. I just got to raise the artificial grass a little bit, just enough to where your toes don't match your heel, like where your foot's up like that, and they tear a meniscus. Next thing you know, they're stuck with me forever.
I mostly know hockey players who say shit like that though. So
Hockey's a dangerous fucking sport.
yeah.
There was that
But like,
Snapchat story about a hot ass model who used to be a professional goalie, but then she quit and now just became a model, used her looks. I was like, good on you. You were
yeah,
doing ice hockey, you realized how hot you were, and it doesn't come once in a lifetime. So you decided to become a model.
yeah. My friend who grew up in South Boston, and I spent a lot of time in South Boston. I lived there for like a very short amount of time, but we always make fun of the like every guy you ever meet who's like trying to hit on you or whatever is like, yeah, I played baseball and stuff. I could have gone pro. I was gonna go pro, but like I injured myself, And I'm like, so drugs is the reason why you never went pro. Because we just always make fun of that because like every guy I've ever met from Southie, like that's trying to hit on me in a bar is always talking about how he almost had some sort of professional sports career. And I'm always like, okay,
Why is that such a hit on move of like proving how good you were at sports? Do girls really give a fuck about that?
we're a sports town.
Okay. What happens if I'm like, I can read 7 pages of Harry Potter in only an hour?
It takes you an hour to read 7
I'm
pages.
dyslexic. You want to make fun of another thing about me? First, you make fun of my religion and then my mental capacities. I feel assaulted.
Okay, fair. Hey, listen to it on tape. Go much more quickly.
You're changing my life. First, I'm now probably going to be an atheist after this show. And then I wasn't even religious in the first place. But then the earth's not flat. You're telling me it's round. You're giving me some groundbreaking knowledge.
Sorry.
What happens if I
I
can hold my breath for 25 seconds underwater? Is that a talent that can get me laid at a bar?
only in South Boston.
25 seconds, really? That's a cheap shot. I actually tested that recently because I've been vaping for like a while now, and I was like, wonder if my lung capacity is still the same. No, it's not from when I was 15. I could hold that bitch for like 2.5 minutes, but they found a way that you can train it. Because I was watching David Blaine on Joe Rogan talk about like doing the stuck in the ice for like, what was it, a couple of weeks or something like that. He was stuck in
Mhm.
ice under whatever the thing, and people could like see him in the middle of it's by Trump's building, which was weird. um but he was stuck in ice under there, and he talked about he went for like, I think it was 2 weeks without any food or like water. And he was like, yeah, you could just do these crazy things if you just train your body to do so. And I was like, whoa, I
Yeah,
would like to push my body to the
but you
extreme.
can't survive without water for 2 weeks.
I think he drank a total of like 3 gallons or something. They had a small tube that was inserted into the ice to be able to drip to him. He also had a thing where he
Oh,
could
okay.
pee and it could drop down through a tube in his leg. He said the hardest part was trying to pee while people could openly see him.
Yeah. Well, then don't do that, David Blaine.
So I'm gonna try out for the Olympics in 2028.
I don't think I could hold my breath for 25 seconds anymore. But I remember being young and trying to like do that with like my cousins or whatever, just trying to see who could hold their breath the longest underwater.
What's the worst thing you ever did when you were like in your 20s or just a kid? Could be a child.
Oh my God, I can't admit to some of it because it's criminal. As a child, we're going child, right?
Yeah, where there's no legal ramifications. The statute of
Yeah.
limitations is probably done by now,
Eh.
unless it's murder. Did you kill
No,
somebody?
I have not,
Why are
to
you
my
making fun of
knowledge.
my dyslexia and then you killed somebody?
To my knowledge, I have not killed anyone.
Okay.
That means I don't know if I've actually killed someone. Maybe I have. I don't know.
You sent
But
one of those random rants on a Facebook post, and one person's like, "That shit, she's talking about me." Jumps off a cliff. It's the worst way to go.
um when I was in first grade, this was like the dumbest thing ever. And I still think about it and I want to find this girl and apologize properly. When I was in first grade, I had these Muppet Baby stickers. This is a dumb story, but it's also like weirdly adult content for what took place. And I'm like, you know how like first grade has like these weird little coat closets that you can put your stuff in? I'm like kind of in the coat closet with like my friend, and we're talking about my Muppet Baby stickers. And this one kind like the one kid who was always like, teacher, Laney's not paying attention. Like that kid in class, like was kind of on the other side of where we were. And he goes, what did you say about a baby? Blah, 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 blah. And there was this girl, Tammy. I will never forget her name just because of this happening. I was like, oh, and like they had a bunch of kids in their family. So I was like, oh, Tammy's mom is having a baby, right? Totally innocent, just to kind of like push him off and like just make him go away. And apparently he went and told this poor girl that I said her mom was having a baby, and it turned into this big dramatic thing. And really,
Wow.
I just didn't want to give him a fucking Muppet Baby sticker. That's probably like one of the meanest things I did as a kid. I don't even know if it was mean or just stupid.
You are a saint.
No, I was not.
If you try to say that experience to a kid now, they'd be like, you know what it was like after I put that social media post up and that kid killed himself? And you're like, oh my God, what?
Yeah, I mean, I was in first grade. I wasn't quite the sociopath I became later on in life.
The craziest thing in my life, I think, out of that I can think of out of all my schooling was that at 11th grade, I went on vacation to Hawaii. And then I came back after being gone for 2 weeks. And I was in school and there was like nobody there. Like I was like, it's not a fucking weekend. It's a fucking Tuesday. Where's everybody at? There's like only 50 teachers out of the whole school. There's only like 100 kids there. And I went to a big high school. So there was
Yeah.
like at least 800, 900 kids that were all in, actually way more than that. That was probably in our graduating class. There was a lot of fucking kids there. And it was like 4 kids in our class. And I was like, where the hell is everybody at? And they go, you didn't hear? What? Monday, Joe said he was going to come into this crazy kid. I'm so sorry I said his name. Thank God I didn't say his last name. But and why should I toss out his last name? He was like a bit of like a mentally like messed up kid, like mental health
Mm-hmm.
issues for sure. But he threatened to come into school the next day with a gun and shoot everybody. And fucking there were cops outside, like
Oh,
out back.
Jesus.
There was nobody showed up to school for like 4 days after that. And I was like, I texted my dad immediately. I was like, can you come pick me up? He's like, what? I'm like, apparently this all happened. He's like, Jesus Christ. Robbie, you go back to school one day and all this starts happening. I'm like, I didn't do shit. I just showed up. But I'm always to get blamed on something.
I was not part of the school shooting generation. Columbine happened after. Well, what year did Columbine happen? Maybe I was in high school, but I was either in high school or college. I think it was like 98 or 97 or 98. So I was like finishing high school going into
Somebody's
college.
listening to this and they're probably really depressed because all we've talked about is very serious. Now we're talking about school shootings.
Hey, it's real life.
Some
Sorry,
Christian out
guys.
there is going to crash his Ford Focus into a fucking tree because he's like, God's not real. What? And he fucking drives his car into a tree.
To be clear, I do believe in God.
You do?
I do.
Then why do you have to take it from me?
I didn't, no, I just said that Adam
You
and
made
Eve
me
were
become
not
not religious
real.
today on this episode. We've been 900 episodes in and you just shattered my illusions.
No, look, you can believe in God without believing in Adam and Eve. I'm just saying.
Cross yourself,
So
lady. Cross yourself.
I might burst into flames. Fire safety, you know. Lewis Black has this great bit about the Old Testament and how Christians need to stop reading the Old Testament. And I'm not going to do it justice trying to say anything, but he's basically like, these were all allegories told to us by the elders of our religion, and they're not meant to be taken seriously, and Christians take them all seriously.
Yeah, it's true. It should be adopted. Maybe someone should make a new Bible. Call it People's
Or,
Magazine.
or just, I don't know, just don't read the Bible and be a dick.
You want to talk about a real conspiracy? Why don't we know what's in the Vatican archives? And why did someone go to the Vatican archives and say that there's a few textbooks in there that were allegedly burned at the Great Fire of Alexandria? That burning of that library? What are they keeping in there? There's the lost writings of Galileo, like the
Mhm.
ones like there's just lost works of this type of stuff. I'm like, I bet they have stuff on JFK. I bet that's where the government keeps a
The
lot of their stuff.
Vatican,
Yeah.
because he was Catholic.
Probably, but I think more on the aspect of like, if you try and invade the government over secret documents, they could just keep locking it away until the Freedom of Information Act has to get it out if you submit a request to it. But the one thing you can't tear into is religion. Because if you start tearing into religious stuff, they go, no, this is a religious protection. You can't do this. And it's like automatically like you can't go into it anymore.
I mean, what is the Vatican hiding?
Why are they their own country? That's very weird.
Well, it's sort of like DC is its own weird city state, I feel like.
I don't know. Why, when that priest was allegedly accused with all those allegations with young children, they just moved him to a different part of the Vatican?
Because it's easier than dealing with the real problem.
Exactly. Why do we push everything under the surface? Why, when my knee hurts, I say that's a future Robbie problem when I know it's going to affect me the next day?
Listen, the Catholic Church done fucked up when they decided
Really?
that priests should not get married, because yeah, I know. That was revolutionary, everyone. I know. But so I was raised Greek Orthodox. All the priests were married. You had to be married to be ordained, unless the only ones who weren't married were the ones who were going to be bishops or higher, right? So if you were going to be a priest, you had to be married to come into the full priesthood. Greek people don't do much right, but they did understand that like you need to get some urges out,
Mhm.
because you're human.
Mhm.
I don't know why the Catholic Church and when the Catholic Church really decided that that wasn't cool, but they screwed up big,
Mhm.
because it people need to fuck, man. Like
Yeah. You
a lifetime of
suppress the shit out of
celibacy
it.
is not real. It's not a real thing, you know.
I think you go to a long extended periods of time without needing to, but I also think that like there are some like for instance, like the rule of thumb for a guy would be if you're talking to a girl and you feel like she's really attractive, just jack off and then see if you feel the same, because most of the time it's your pent up urges that are making you feel the way you are, and that's just a weird fucking demon that's true.
Like, wait, you're talking to her and you're like, hold on, I have to go to the bathroom. And then like you go.
No, more like since everything's on the phone now, I'll be texting with someone. I'm like, this chick's really hot. I'll be setting up something to go hang out and do those hangouts. You know what I mean? And then I'll be like, am I just really fucking pent up right now? And then I go do the deed and then I'm done. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to them anymore. It's because you're thinking literally with your dick. That's 100% true.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I'd never even understood what that was. It's like when you see those videos of the people that take that girl boner medication where they put it in their drink and then it's like you see their girlfriend freaking out and just getting really hot all the time, panting around the room like a fucking hyena or whatever. That shit's real. Like there's sometimes your hormones go up to an elevated level and you need it right then and there. And no matter who they are, what they look like, doesn't matter. You just need to get it out. I'm not against it. I don't care.
I'm I'm with you.
Why is
I'm
in
with you.
Oregon there's a whole entire army of just people that are openly furries? I don't know, but they let the freak flag fly. I have plenty of friends on there who go, yeah, this is a common thing down here. People just mow their lawn dressed up as a fucking fox. I'm like, good, good. Let that shit out. I'd rather you tell me that your kink is being strangled and have a brick thrown on your head at the last second of climaxing rather than being like a Mr. Rogers type where you keep it all pent up. Mr. Rogers is probably a cross dresser and I don't care. But why are you hiding it?
I didn't like Mr. Rogers. There
I'm
was
telling
something very,
it's my conspiracy. I'm
very
calling it now.
sinister about that
Thank
puppet
you.
land.
Thank you. I've been saying it forever. Everyone's like, don't you dare talk about Mr. Rogers. He was a saint. I go, there's something off about that man. I sense it about him, and I don't know what it is.
I remember watching it when I was little and being like, nope, nope, I'm not okay with this. Same thing with Sesame Street. Not that it was, I just thought it was boring. I didn't think it was sinister. Mr. Rogers felt very sinister to me. Really, the only kid show I liked watching besides like the Smurfs and shit was Reading Rainbow,
So
which was just awesome.
Tim Dillon, that guy I was telling you about, he was on Sesame Street as a kid, and he
That
talked
explains a
about it
lot.
once he was like, I think he was 7 or something like that or 8. They told him that sorry, our audience actually doesn't like it because you've reached out of the age group. They need a younger person to be on the show now. And I was like,
Mhm.
3-year-olds didn't want to watch 8-year-olds on the show. They wanted to watch
Yeah.
younger people. And he got phased out. And he goes, that was my stardom into Hollywood. I was like, you start to realize. And he's like, I don't know. He's crazy. You'd love him. I swear you'd love Tim Dillon.
Hmm.
But that's what
Would
the
I?
show is. He goes, all of them were just drug addicts. He goes,
Yeah.
every Big Bird, everybody was a drug addict. And I was like, yeah, no shit. How many Nickelodeon shows as a kid that I loved? Everyone's got some crazy shit wrong with them now. Everyone's
Yeah.
the kid from this is what I want to tell you. The kid from High School Musical. I had to look back at one of the songs because I had a guest tell me that her crush was Zac Efron. It led into the whole High School Musical thing. I looked back, the cello player, he got arrested for selling heroin, like a bunch of shit. And I was like, a lot of these kids were like fucking like we see the good, but no one ever cares about the bad. Everyone just wants to remember them in that moment. I'm like, that's not what we can do with everybody. If someone does something horrible, we have to look at the new shit. We can't look at the oh, but I remember them from Naked Gun. I don't give a fuck. I want to look at the new shit.
You can hide a lot of heroin in a cello, actually.
How do you
I
know
used to
this?
I used to play the violin and I used to hide drugs inside my violin.
Holy shit.
But a lot before it starts messing with the sound.
That was that was like in Miami. They used to put when they would transfer like dead people, like cadavers, they would put drugs inside of the bodies. Like the
Mhm.
Bad Boys episode or the movie where the body started falling out of the back of the trunk and there were just people running them over and there was cocaine and meth all inside the bodies. That was a real thing that happened. People were sticking drugs and trading it through that way.
Probably. That makes sense.
It's
I mean,
fucking
they're dead.
I know. What do you mean they're dead? That's someone's loved one. You're sticking a bag of meth next to your like some person's grandpa's colon.
First of all, they're probably from Florida, so that yeah.
What's
That's
wrong
all I
with
have to say.
Floridians? I love Florida people.
I don't have time. Florida is
Let the
there's a
freak
reason why
flag fly. What do you
there's
want
a
from the people?
there's a reason why it's shaped like a dick.
That's terrible. Damn. Well, I mean, Maryland, like my town, is like a little tumor. It's just slowly dangling off of like one of the main giant continent parts. So like we're like that little like we're the appendix of everything. We're just hanging off the side. And we had a function at one point, but now we don't. So then you can just remove us when a fucking giant wave comes and takes our whole town away. I hope that's how I die, by a tsunami.
If
Yeah.
you're lucky.
Yeah. How would you like to
Yeah.
die?
Quickly.
It's not a good answer.
I don't know.
In your sleep?
I don't really thought. I guess that's the nice way to go.
I thought so too until I had a dream about it. And then I thought, no, that would be a terrible way to go if you just have a forever dream that never ends.
I think for a long time, I thought I would just probably essentially OD and die, or just
What?
drink and do enough drugs and die. Because have we talked about my former drug problem?
No, I don't
So I've
judge
been
people
sober
on these
for like
things.
16 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So like for a long time in my life, I really thought that was going to be how it ended, was something drug related, right? Um, so I guess like beyond that, I've never really thought about how I'm going to die, because I don't know. Like I'm in my bonus years, like anything past 25, because like I remember being in high school, I remember most of my life as a kid, people would be like, you are not going to make it past 21. And I really thought that was true. So like I made it past 25, and I just feel like these are all like bonus years. I'm like, whatever, if I die from the COVID, this is my bonus years anyways, like whatever. But I don't know. I don't think about it, which is weird because I'm pretty dark, and you would think I'd think about it more.
I mean, this whole episode hasn't been a cheery one. It's been a little bit intense, but
Has
so,
it? I'm having a great time.
but but with like for instance, like it's funny you say 25. I've always said that my death day was going to be 26, which is ironic because I had a tarot card reader tell me my podcast was going to be huge in 2024, which is exactly 3 years from now, which is when I'll be 26. So I was like, that's what I do. I jump off of a cliff because I can't take it anymore. And then my podcast, everyone starts looking through the content like, oh my God, his work, it should live on forever. I'm just kidding. But 26, it's either going to be, I don't know. I look at that like that's the age you need to be successful by is 26, but I don't know what I measure my level of
Oh,
success anymore.
no, no, no. Don't put that parameter on yourself, because you will fail.
But when
There's
you're a
no
kid,
age.
you
Yeah.
dream of like all these things you're going to accomplish. And I consider that a fault of the fucking parents. Why are older adults telling kids that they could be president? They could be an astronaut. Fucking tell them they can be whatever they want to be so they don't have these high expectations and then end up being like 50 and being like, I own my own company, but I'm not an astronaut or a president. And then they're all fucking depressed because their life didn't turn out like all the people that filled their fucking head with nonsensical horse shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea that like people should be like, parents need to stop. Parents just need to stop. I see people like my friends raising their kids nowadays, and they're like, oh, blah blah blah, and I'm like, just leave the fucking kid alone. Half your kid's problem is you won't leave them alone. Like, just leave them the fuck alone. Did you want to be talked to by your parents all the time when you were 16? No, leave your fucking kid alone.
If my
But
parents
like,
were around, sure.
yeah, exactly. But well, now you made it. Now I don't know what to
They
say.
died when I was 4.
I'm sorry. That's awful.
I'm just kidding. I didn't know.
Jesus Christ.
My parents
I'm
worked
like, oh crap.
my parents worked 2 jobs, so I was always like I spent a lot of my time like that's where probably a lot of like my critical thinking comes from besides doing the podcast and stuff is like I spent a lot of time just kind of balancing out my own thoughts and trying to figure out a lot of stuff. I had
Yeah.
someone explain to me like, your shadow is like a dark side of you. And I was like, well, the shadow was the only thing that was there at times. So you got to really kind of flip the script on some things. I think in some sense we spent a lot of time being a little bit different than probably the majority of people, me and you, I'm specifically talking
Yeah.
about. And I
Oh,
think
yeah. I'm very different.
think that helps our growth in a way. We're able to think things out a little bit differently. I mean, there are some people that just don't function with the norm of society. And I don't think those people are outcasts. I think they're just people that just defer to a different method of being a person. I think we label things a lot. I think this generation of people like my nephew, for instance, his mom is 100% like, we're going to learn better education methods, better things. And now she did go to school to be a teacher, but a lot of this stuff comes from either people that grew up not having parents around, so they want to make sure they're always around for their kids. And then that breeds a bunch of people that want to end up not being around their kids because their parents were around them 24/7. It's like a never ending
Yeah.
fucking cycle of torment.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I think you're right. And I mean, parents to quote the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, parents just don't understand, and they don't see
Don't you
that
dare
like
toss out a DJ Jazzy Jeff reference on my show.
um but they don't see that like kids need to kind of push back, and I say this to um my my best friend all the time because my nephews are at that stage. They're teenagers now, so they're at that pushback stage, right? And I fail because I'm always like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Because they're annoying, and that's really where I'm coming from. I want them to explore their shit, but I don't want them to annoy me with it. um but like, the way we become adults is we rebel against our parents. Like, we find our way. We're supposed to find our way. And when I was growing up, and when people who are older than me were growing up, parents had one job, which was make sure they don't die, you know? And yeah, some of us were told that we could be doctors and lawyers, but most of us were told that we were dumbasses and that we'd probably just work menial jobs our whole lives. And that was fine too, and like, now you have these, like, college is the only option, or like, oh, I have to help my son with his college applications. I'm like, what? That's not your job. If your son needs help with his college applications, he's probably not prepared to go to college, like those sorts of things where, like, 25-year-olds who need their parents to make a dentist appointment for them. Like, kids are just left helpless today, and it's our fault. And I'm talking about my generation. Like, it's our fault because we're leaving them helpless, because we're not raising kids so they can become adults in the world. We're raising kids so they can be some sort of like narcissistic extension of ourselves, because my generation thinks that, I don't know, our shit don't stink for some, like, it really is a me generation thing, and
How old do you
everyone I
think I
know.
am?
You're 23, right?
No,
Oh,
I'm
how old are you?
36.
No, you're not. Get
I
out of
know.
here. No, even then you're not in my generation. I'm Generation X, right? I'm like at the tail end of Generation X. So,
What?
yeah.
You look way younger than
Well, thank you.
most people that moisturizing and not believing in God that's been working for you, huh?
And Botox. Botox is awesome. No, I'm 42. Um, and so yeah, I'm at that age range, and most people who have teenagers going into their 20s nowadays, they're people that I grew up with. And like, we're the slacker generation. We did nothing of note. We did nothing cool. We did nothing of note. And for some reason, like, we all think that we have the answers, and we're raising these fucking kids who just want to be left alone to breathe, and no one will leave them fuck alone. And I don't have children, so I'm told I'm not allowed to say how you should parent. But I remember what it was like to be a kid. I remember what it was like to be a kid with these people smoking weed and doing everything wrong. And like,
I think
just
you would be best equipped to be a parent right now. If you wanted kids and you wanted to have kids, I think you'd do a lot better than a lot of parents now because I think you understand more. I think like I have plenty of exes whose kids are probably the age of my podcast. They
yeah,
had kids when they're 20, had kids when they're 19, had kids when they're 18. And I'm like, I get it, and they're very, very caring, and they're very, very like there, but there's no like goals set up for their life now at this point, it's just being a parent. And some people are like, that's the biggest goal of all time. I'm like, yeah, but I think you haven't really experienced your life yet to have a kid at that point. If you already have 3 kids and you're only 24, that's a scary fucking thing.
I actually disagree with that. I think have not that I'm advocating for kids to have
I wanted kids at a
kids
younger
too
age,
young.
so I
Yeah.
wasn't old as shit when
Yeah.
my dad's in his like mid 50s right now. When I was a
Yeah.
kid, like my dad had me at 30. So like I look at it like I wanted kids younger than that so I could like get a beer with my kid or
Yeah.
do that. Like I wasn't an old ass. But at the
Yeah.
same time, maybe you need some people need different areas of growth where their level of adulthood, they're not equipped to have it at 20. I know plenty of friends where I'm like, I fucking saw you snort cocaine off of a fucking coffee table 3 years ago, and you're telling me you have a kid now? It's like, what are we fucking talking about? Doesn't make sense. And you see the shift, you see the
Yeah.
change, but then I don't know if that's going to end up going correctly. It's so hard having a raising a life or something. I couldn't imagine it because there's so many instances where you can fuck up. My dad said it best. He goes, what I did was I didn't give you any restrictions. That's not how you work. That's not how you're programmed. You never liked
Yeah.
someone speaking down to you. I just talked to you like a human being. You never wanted restrictions. If it was 2 o'clock in the morning and you went out skateboarding, I said, okay, be safe. I knew you were coming back. I always knew. And
Yeah.
I did. And
Yeah.
I think that's why I never wanted to go do any insane shit because I was given so much leeway because they weren't really there. So it was like, you got to manage yourself here, bud.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Like, I think you get to, and this is why I say, like, I think have kids. My parents were much older. My dad was 40 when I was born. Um, so like, I think when you're a kid and when you're like 12 and your dad's 52, it's a fuck because you start thinking about death, right?
Yeah.
Like their mortality is very present in your life, you know. And so don't wait too long. But I think like between 24 and 26 is a great age to have kids for two reasons. One, you kind of are a little bit more established. You kind of know who you are, but you're still kind of figuring it out. Um, but then like they grow up and they become adults, and when they're 18, you're still fairly young that you get your life back, and you're also entering that age where life starts to get really good. Like your 40s are fucking on. Like your 30s are going to be fun and you're going to really learn a lot about yourself. But I turned 40 and I was like, this is the shit. Like, I feel like being 40, I know I don't know everything and I still struggle with some things, but like I feel like I crested over something, and like now everything I learn, everything I do, it just gets better and better. I have more money than I ever did. And that's the thing, like you want to raise your kids to a place where when they are out of the house, that's when you have the most amount of money. That's when you have the most amount of establishment. That's when you know yourself the best. And that's when you can get to like really live your life. And you're young enough to keep living a life that's meaningful and awesome. But you also did like that I'm a parent thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's like the mid 20s are like the best age to have kids. I don't know, just my personal opinion. What do I know? But yeah, like the greatest generation raised children in the depression, and they or no, they weren't raising children in the depression. They grew up in the depression, but like those people raised children with nothing. They like people used to get married right out of high school. People used to have kids really young. They didn't have money. They didn't have this. They didn't have that. They worked it out, and they raised kids who understood adversity, you know, and what do? We wait till we're 35 and established and we shit out a kid, and we're super neurotic at that point. And so we make our kids super neurotic. Like, why? You know? Like at 35, if I had a kid, that kid would have been screwed because I would have been like, oh my God, I have to have all natural toys only. You know, whereas if I was 22 having a kid, I'd be like, I don't know, I just hope I don't kill the fucking thing.
That's 100% true.
Yeah, you
That's my
know?
biggest fear is like when people go, well, make sure he's sleeping on his back and he's not sleeping on his stomach. I'm like, what's wrong with being on his stomach? What are you talking about? And then people are like, oh, this is the parenting aspect of it. I'm like, yeah, I could not be equipped to be able to handle. That's why I don't have a dog. I do too many podcasts. I'd be neglecting the shit out of it. There's no point in getting one.
Oh, dogs are easy though.
I want a big one though, like a big Newfoundland, like I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You
those
want,
dogs are big and lazy.
yeah,
It's
but
even
you want
better. They
something
sleep
that when
18 hours a day.
when you got anxiety, they have that blanket that's heavy as shit that like makes you feel comfortable. You want a giant
Yeah.
animal coming in and just plopping himself down right on top of you and just going with these airbag sized lungs where you're like, okay, I feel safe. Not a little chihuahua where if you step, you hear a yip and you're like, oh God, I broke its neck.
Poor little chihuahuas in the other room.
That's cool that I picked that dog and you have one.
Yeah.
Um, I don't
Um,
know. Maybe one day we'll be able to discover another dimension and we'll be able to revert back in time. Imagine that. Imagine if you could find another dimension, come across another Laney, go back. It would be a different time period. So maybe you were in, let's say you were 18 years old. What would you say to younger Laney? What information would you instill upon her to make her dimension better, knowing that you can't transfer your consciousness? You're not going to be younger. You're just going to be able to give advice to your younger self and give a bunch of wisdom. You might have to be like, "Hey, we got to have a beer." And you're like, "I'm 18." That's that's not even anything close to what you've tried already. And then you just sit down and talk to
Yeah,
her.
I was definitely drinking at 18 in bars. I think I started drinking in bars when I was like 12. Um, but
How'd you get that one going?
it was a different time.
Did you look
My dad,
20?
I kind of did. I think I've looked this way since I was probably about 11. The first nightclub I went to, I was 11.
Oh, you're a forever puppy.
Yeah. I looked like an adult when I was a kid, and now I look young, which is great. It's the way to go. Um, but yeah, my dad took me to a bar when I was 12 and was like, let her drink. And I got drunk for the first time at a bar with my dad. Um,
Did you pet a person stranger, their dog?
no, I did not.
Okay,
I
good.
just drank like one of the boys. It's tough. I drank like a boy.
Did you get a
Drink like
tattoo?
a man.
Did you get a tattoo?
Not that night, no.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I don't, where was I going with, oh, what would I say to 18-year-old Laney? Um, I think I would have to say that like it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get a lot worse.
Why does everybody say that? It doesn't give me any hope for the future.
But in the end, it's gonna be worth it because like what you do find at the end of that struggle is is awesome. It's peace, you know, and like I still struggle with that sometimes, but like, you know, at 18, my life was really tough, you know. Um, and I I didn't know which way was up. And yeah, it did get worse. It got a lot worse. But like with every bad thing that's ever happened, like I've gotten stronger, I've gotten smarter, I've gotten better. I've I don't know, it's just life just gets better, man. Like with every passing year, life gets better.
Two
Oh,
things. One, that candle is still fucking smoking.
is it?
It's how people die, I'm telling you. Two, um, when
Been a long time since we started
it's
talking
almost
too.
2 hours. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Is like I really feel like I didn't fix it. It's bothering me a little bit. I forgot the second thing I was gonna say.
Sorry.
Hmm. Wow, that really eluded me too. It was an important point to what you were saying. Yeah, I'm dumbfounded. I'm sorry. I can't help you there.
Sorry.
Good luck.
It
Try again next time.
couldn't have been that important.
I don't know. It felt like it was a revelational smart thing to say at this time. Hmm. What's one accomplish? Oh yeah, you could have when you were saying your story about talking to younger Laney. I was saying you could tell him like one day it's all going to work out. You're going to come across this kid's podcast, and he's going to
Right.
change your life because that's what Out of the Blank does. People
Yep.
hashtag change lives, hashtag flat
Exactly.
Earth,
Yeah.
hashtag moon landing isn't real. I'm just kidding.
Hashtag Instagram model, because that's my next step now that I'm famous off your podcast.
It's not, hey, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I've had people, past guests that got an acting position from my show. They
Oh,
found past episodes of mine and be like, is this the best content to get like a better depiction of you? And they were like, yeah, sure. And then they looked at the episodes, cast her in something, it saved a life. It helped someone's sight get restored. So I'm like, hey,
what?
yeah,
You're like
887.
Oprah.
I hope. I'm like one of those Sam Kinison magic healers before he became a stand-up comedian. He was a Pentecostal preacher. That's nuts
Oh,
to
I
me.
know.
Oh
I
yeah.
know. Sam
Richard
Kinison's
Pryor
the
has the best
best.
story. He did freebase and then tried to kill himself, and then that's why his body was on fire. And the next thing you know,
Mhm.
he has this amazing comedy career afterwards. And hearing like Bob Saget's story of working with Richard Pryor, and they had a scene in a movie where he was taking a wire brush, like, and he goes, "This is what they used to scrape off my skin after the fire," and it was like, oh, Like it pulls your heartstrings. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, people, most creative people have the darkest pasts. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think maybe,
Especially comedians.
yeah. And I don't necessarily want people to experience hardship, but I also think it's a very, very interesting way of how someone can become an amazing person by going through the hard times, because through hard times creates better men. And I think that's the quote, right? Tough times create, I'm going to Google it.
Okay. Um yeah, I think going through difficult things, you need it. That's why I'm a little like I bristle a little bit at the whole bullying culture because I was bullied, I was terribly bullied. Um, to bring it back to the beginning of the episode, I thought if OJ was guilty, I was gonna die. I was bullied, you know. But it made me strong. Like I'm a very resilient person, you know, and I can't think of one thing in my life that could happen to me now that I couldn't I might not handle it well all the time, but I will get through it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. I think you're an amazing person from our conversations that we've had.
Thank you.
We definitely need to be talking a lot more without just doing a podcast, maybe just a
Yeah,
catch up Zoom call. But here's the quote:
absolutely.
hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times.
Yeah.
So that's like we were saying about the parents, like the kids that are super parenting now didn't really have parents before, then it leads into that. So yeah, it's just I think like I remember being bullied as a kid. It got me into the gym and everything, but there's just a lot of moments I feel like you give up right before your precipice of success. So I think the all you have to do is really flip the script on a lot of things. It's way easier to focus on the things that you don't have, but to really focus and hone in on the things that you do. You know,
Yeah.
I can sit here and say I don't have this or I don't have bills or money or I don't have all this type of stuff. That's good, like, that I want that stuff, and that's a reason to have that stuff because it also helps you live easier. Sadly, that's the world we live in, but I'm also happy I have air in my fucking lungs because that's
Yeah.
something a lot of people can't really say that they have. A lot of
Yeah.
people I look at, like important stuff to me when it comes to memories and it comes to moments, and there's stuff that I really appreciate that a lot of people don't really have the chance to express or things like that. And it makes me miss so many times I went out to eat with my grandparents and I was sitting on my phone or something, and I want to slap
Yeah.
myself in the back of the head of like what I wouldn't give to have those moments back. Like you really makes you look at the future a little bit differently, where you just go, there's got to take in every single moment, whether it's a sunrise or a sunset or just having a wonderful conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. And I don't know. I think I think it all works out in the end.
I hope so.
Yeah. Because I think we're gonna be fine. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom in the world right now. I think we're gonna be just fine.
I like the optimism. I
It's not
think
really optimism. It's just like I look at history, way worse shit has happened and we've survived that. We're humans, we're resilient, we keep going, and
we just got to
eventually our time will come to an end, but not right now.
stop this giant push of like we're killing the earth. I'm like the earth's going to be here a lot longer than we are. We're going to be
Yeah.
wiped off the face.
Yeah, like I assure you the earth will definitely do away with us before we ever do away with it.
The younger dryas theory. That's what it is. Is the civilization restarts, and that's why the pyramids, all this type of stuff, they're all things that were built here way before, and it's just new civilization restarts. It's an interesting theory.
It isn't. Well, I think if you look at early hominids and stuff, they lived as long as they could until they could no longer adapt, and then they morphed into something new, and they lived as long as they could till they could no longer adapt. And we've lived not necessarily the longest, but we've adapted the best thus far, and that has a lot to do with like how big our brains are, how we use our bodies, how we this, how we that. But like there's gonna be a moment where we can no longer adapt, and then whatever comes after comes after. But I think humans need to stop thinking in absolutes and remember that we are not the end all be all of what happens in this universe. So, we're temporary. All of this is temporary, but for right now, at least in our lifetime, nothing's really going to change. So just enjoy it while you got it.
Well, do you have any final words besides that, or is that your final words?
I'm going to make that my final word because otherwise I won't shut up.
And the podcast. What about the podcast? Where can people find the Witch Academic?
It's on thewitchacademic.com. I haven't been super active. I'm going to call it I took the summer off. It wasn't really intentional. I think maybe next summer it'll be a little more intentional, but I had to take a break. Work was busy. But I'm getting back into it now, so you'll start to see more content come up.
Oh yeah, action-packed
Yeah.
episodes, hopefully with new things going on in it. A
I
summon
think
spells episode.
I don't know how to do spells.
They
I
don't know
think
either. They just fucking say random shit and it happens.
I think I'm gonna start trying to do like some more vlog type stuff on YouTube. Um, because for two reasons. One, I think it's really I think people need to see someone who's not necessarily in college sort of juggle a job and like research and all that stuff. Um, and I think there's a need for that. But also, I have ADHD. I really struggle with it. I would like to, I've looked on YouTube. There's really no one doing anything like that. And I think it could be a really good resource for people who just need to feel connected to someone who's going through that as well. So, I would like to do like definitely witch academic research based stuff, but I want it to be a little bit more about my personal life, and kind of connect with people on that level. We'll see what happens. I have to learn how to edit videos first.
I'll help you.
Thank you.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast, and stay tuned for another episode. Or you know what? Maybe shut off the radio today and just go embrace the day. I don't know. Just be yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to do unless you want to start a cult, and make sure it has morals to it, because we don't have any of those out there. It's really all I got to say. And if YouTube ends up taking this episode down and you're listening to it on Spotify and it's not available on YouTube, you can find us on Odyssey, because it's a new video app since I have trust issues. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for another episode.